Okay, we're going to be moving today, Parak Aleph, Pasuk Yud Beis, over here in Yeshua. We're going to try to actually get to the end of the Parak. We're going to be moving, nothing too fancy over here. Pasuk starts off by saying, Ve'la Re'uveni, Ve'la Gadi, L'chatzi Shevet HaManashe, Omer Yeshua Lemur. Okay, so to the tribe of Reuven and Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh, Yeshua told them, saying, there's a lot of interesting discussions. Why doesn't the pasuk just say Reuven and God? What's the knee business? Furthermore, why does it say Chatzi? Half of the tribe of Manasseh, and not the full tribe. Those are two interesting questions. There's really not much going on in this pasuk. Other than that, there really isn't. Should just speak out before we address the answers to those questions. The introduction to the article on Yeshua over here. At the end of the a reminder of promise. They're preparing to cross the Jordan River over here. Just wanted to show a diagram so everyone could understand the situation. I don't know exactly which diagram would be the best, but basically, when you have the land of Israel, you have the Mediterranean Sea, right? So that's on the left side, the west side. Then on the east side, you have the Jordan River, so they're going to be crossing over the Jordan River, right? And Yeshua sent the two and a half tribes where that were chosen to take their share of the land on the east bank of the Jordan River. That's the land that Moshe conquered from Sichon and Og. They had promised Moshe that their fighting men would accompany their brother tribes across the Jordan and be in the forefront of the battles against the Canaanite people. So Yeshua wanted to make sure they honored their pledge. All right. It's a sefer called Kli Yakar. That's what it looks like. It's definitely not the Kli Yakar on Chumash. It's a collection. He addresses Loksiv Ruvain Vilagad Loimer Shafal Pish and Israchu Meretz Kodesh Lakachas Nachlas Bevar Yardin Uizbarach Rachikim. Doesn't say to Ruvain and God. Vakaksiv Leruvaini. Why did it say Leruvaini to my Ruvain, to my God? Kloimer Ruvain Shali, my Ruvain who? V'chein God Shali who? And Hashem is saying it's also my God. Ki b'nai him. They are considered my children. Amram got Menashe lo chutzrach loimer Menashi. By Menashe, you don't need to say the Menashi business. Ki al korcho v'shaloim midaiso nechla chatzir be'ever yardin v'chatzir be'eretz. Because it was unwillingly that it was split up. Half on the other side of the Yarden, of the Jordan River, and half in Israel. K'dei lakasher ha'sa'oimdim achutz ima oimdim b'fnim. They basically tied everyone in Israel and out of Israel together. It was said on them that they're going to split. Yosef garan l'shvatim sheyikru b'gdeihem. Yosef caused the tribes to cut their clothing. Lefikach nikra lechatzan. They're split in half. Shev b'noha b'chor Menashe. Yosef's firstborn, his b'chor is Menashe. Chatzi be'yardim and chatzi be'aretz. Half is in Israel, half of out of Israel. That's why he goes with the half. Later on in the Sefer, we're gonna deal with the explanation of the half more, but this is one approach. Why it was half of the tribe. And the answer is because that's what the lottery was split on. That's what caused all the way back then, right? That Yosef caused the tribes to split, tear their clothing. Right? That's gonna be the Kliyakar. That's all pasuk over here. Move to pasuk Gimel Zachar Sadavar. Remember, this is Yeshua talking to these 2.5 tribes. Zachar Sadavar Asher Siva Eschem. Remember this matter that Moshe commanded you. Moshe Eved Hashem. Moshe, who was the Eved, the slave of Hashem, the servant of Hashem. Like we discussed in the past, Lamor saying, Hashem Lokeichem Maniach Lachem V'nosan Lachem Nesar. Hashem, your God, will allow you and give you this land. Okay? The Metzudas David says, Maniach Noisin Lachem Makom Menuch. He's going to give you a place to rest. But says Lachem Arsazos, when he's going to give you this land, Shabever Hazeh, that is on this side of the Jordan River. Sheichim Tapechim Yodalid, the women, children, Umeknechem, the cattle, Yeshu Ba'aretz, Asher Nasan Lachem Moshe Be'evar Yardim. They should sit in the land that Moshe gave you on the side of the Jordan. V'atem Taviru, and you shall cause it to pass. Chamushim, L'fnei Achichim Kol Gabri Achayil Ve'azartem Oisam. It's this word, Chamushim, over here, in your Dalit. What does this mean? Chamushim, the Metzudas says, Mizu Yonim, armed. So your women, your cattle, they're going to sit in the land that Moshe gave you on the side of the Jordan. They're going to dwell there. V'atem, and you, taviru chamushim l'fnei achichim. You're going to come armed in front of your brothers. Kol giburi achayil. Giburi achayil means the gibors, the strong soldiers. Ve'azartem osam, and you will help them. This is a important pasuk saying that you are gonna have to help even your brothers that are in Israel, even though you're not there. That's what this is saying over here. Next pasuk, Ad asher yaniach Hashem, until Hashem allows them to rest. Metzudas explains, Shem, Ad asher yaniach Hashem la'achichim, your brothers, kachem, like you, to rest. Till Hashem allows your brothers like you to rest, v'yarshu gam him ha'aretz, and they will inherit the land as well. Asher Hashem Elokeichem noisein lahem, that Hashem your God will give them. V'shavtem la'aretz Yerusha seichem, and then you should return to the land of your inheritance. V'yarashtem oisem, you shall inherit it. Asher nasan lachem Moshe Eved Hashem be'evar Yarden Mizrach Hashemish, that Moshe gave you, who was the servant of Hashem, on the other side of the Jordan, Mizrach Hashemish. That's the end of, which toward the rising of the sun, Mizrach Hashemish. That's the end of Yehoshua talking to them. And the next pasuk says, "Vayanu es Yehoshua lemor." They answered Yehoshua, saying, "Kol asher, everything that Sivisanu, everything that you commanded us, Nasa, we will do. Ves kol asher tishlachenu neilach. Anywhere there where you send us, we will go. Kol asher shamanu al Moshe ke'nishma lecha." Just like we listen to Moshe, so too we will listen to you. Rakia Hashem Elokeichem imach. As long as Hashem your God will be with you, kasher hayi Moshe, like he was with Moshe. Kol ish asher Yamre espicha v'lo yishma es devarecha l'chol asher titzavenu yumas rachazek v'ematz. Any person that is, what is this word? Lashon mari umarid. Anyone that rebels. Anyone that rebels as picha against the word of your mouth, v'lo yishma es devarecha, won't listen to you. Anything that you're going to command us, you will die, will surely die. Rather, you should only be strong and courageous. An interesting question that they deal with over here is You see from over here, concept of Morid B'Malchus Chayiv Misa. This is what the questions ask him. Lumdus. You see a concept of there's a halacha that if you rebel against your king, you're obligated to die. Back then, it was enforced. Question is, how could they treat Yehoshua like a king? He's not a king. He's a navi. The leader, granted, but he's not a king. So they address that question. The Imam always has some fascinating points over here. I'm not gonna do a screen share. First time when I gave this year, we just rolled through the pasuk. Actually, didn't even quote this Imam Loiz. I actually just saw it earlier today on Shabbos afternoon when I was learning here, and I said, "This is actually really interesting stuff over here." This really is. Few interesting points. Uh, just before we start that, I got to point out last time that there's only a few mitzvahs that we go into. There's most mitzvahs, there's some sort of action, something that we do. The Jews over here, the Jews back then, they were doing something very unique. They were going into a mitzvah. They were going into Eretz Israel, the land of Israel. They're going into it, which is something that's very special. Nowadays, practically, this doesn't happen often. This happens when we go under a chuppah, when someone gets married, a canopy. They're going into a mitzvah. Similarly, a mikvah. When a person goes into a mikvah, he's going into it. A sukkah, we go into a sukkah, a shul, a yeshiva, beis medrash. About the merit going into Israel. Let's just say another point on why it's called half of the tribe. To just comment on that Kli Yakar over there. The pasuk in Parshas Miketz, Mem Daled Yud Gimel, says that Yosef's brothers tore their garments after they discovered that Binyamin had the goblet. Yosef's brothers tore the clothing. Therefore, the tribe of Manasseh, Yosef's firstborn, was torn in half. Some in on one side of the Jordan, on the other in Israel, out of Israel. All right, that was an interesting point. Anyways, the Imam always has an interesting commentary. He says that the people of Reuven and Gad, those tribes, they were very strong and they had very large flocks and herds of cattle. And when they were under Moshe, the Jews, they conquered the land east of the Jordan. And these tribes, they asked if they could settle there rather than wait to go west of the Jordan and wait until it was conquered. Moshe saw that it would be good to have them settled there, and he acquiesced. I think why? Because they would guard the eastern border and protect it, protect other tribes. And he gave them the bracha. But first, Moshe made them promise that they were going to help the other tribes conquer the western side of the Jordan and not return to their old portions until the conquest was complete. That's the idea over here. If they didn't keep their promise, their land they were supposed to get would just be taken and would be divided among the other tribes. They would receive portions like any of the other tribes. That's the idea over here. So that's one important point that the Imam always says. That's the idea over here. Later on, he says a wild story. A really, really interesting story. This is on Sukkim Tes Zayin to Yud Ches. Says legend has it that Yehoshua actually had to call for their assistance. This happened after the land was conquered and divided. All the tribes were dwelling in peace. There was a king in Persia who was the son of one of the kings that Yehoshua killed. Shobach, and he ruled over a city called Marie Castina. And he decided to avenge the death of his father and the other kings of Canaan, and he gathered 45 kings from all over Persia. Each had 60,000 soldiers, and they also had a mighty warrior with them who was very famous, and he could kill so many people at one time, blah, blah, blah. So he basically says, we're going to come and kill you. He wrote to Yehoshua. And long story short, Yehoshua was very scared. And messenger arrived, and he was sitting, and he was very, very scared. And later on, eventually, Yehoshua told the people, and the people just said, "No, we will fight. We're gonna do it. Don't worry, Yehoshua." And they wrote a strong letter back saying, "We're gonna come and get you." Remember, 45 kings, 60,000 each. Basically, long story short, to summarize this idea, is that they finally got there. Well, they sent a letter first that they're gonna come take him down. Yehoshua, they sent a letter back, or a messenger back, whatever it was. And then Yehoshua and the army arrived. But when Shobach saw them, he was terrified. He didn't know what to do. But he had a mother who was a witch. And basically, back then, you had, like we discussed, you had prophecy and you also had witchcraft, sorcery. You had it. And she told her son, don't worry, I'm going to do a spell. I'm going to enclose them in seven walls of iron, all of the entire army. And then they're going to have no way to go out. They're going to die of thirst. The seven is significant. When we get to the Battle of Jericho, we're going to see many explanations about that. Anyways, that's what she did. And the soldiers that were there with Yehoshua, right? It was all the soldiers except for Reuven and Gad. Yehoshua thought he wasn't going to need them. So he didn't ask them to join. So now what did he do? He wrote a letter to their king and he tied it to a dove. It flew up over the walls and quickly came to the land of Reuven and Gad and informed them of the situation. And they wrote a letter. They immediately got up and they went there to help him out. And Pinchas was there as well. When Shobach's mother saw them coming, she said, I see a star rising from the east, and none of my magic has any power over it. She was referring to Pinchas. When Shobach heard this, he was furious, and he threw her off a wall, and she died. Uh, Basically, they came, Reuven, Gad, Pinchas, and they defeated all the soldiers. Pinchas just blew his trumpets, and with every blast, one of the iron walls fell down, and they were safe. And Yehoshua and his army came out and helped defeat the enemies until there was nothing left. That's why it says in the pasuk, until Hashem lets your brothers Yaniach rest. That alludes to Yaniach, who was the king of Reuben and Gad at the time. Anyways, I just thought that was a crazy story. I don't really know the lesson behind it, but pretty crazy, kind of tangential. I don't know. It's in the Mama ways, it's just stuck with me as a crazy story. Anyways, okay, next parak is actually going to be very fascinating. Parak Beis, and it's the Haftorah Parsha Shlach. It's going to deal with Rachav, a very cryptic episode. Very exciting and applicable stuff coming up. Okay, see you next time.